Hello, let me know if you can hear my voice and you can hear the machine. If you can hear both these things, then it's a really good start to what will undoubtedly be a very exciting evening. Oh yes, but let me know if you can hear things. That would be great. I'll just fiddle. You let me know in the comments. That would be super. Loud and clear? Good. That's good news. Hello, so yes, a couple of minutes just sound checking our way in here to make sure that everything's working, that I'm sitting on my seat, that we're all prepared and ready for a lovely evening of talking with Uncle Robin, because that's why we're here, and that's going to be lovely. So thank you for joining us this evening. I'm just going to turn this down. Oh, and then things are going to fall over and I'm almost going to hurt myself. Oh, great. Crikey. Right. Hello and welcome to another one of our Molten Live evenings. It's very exciting. We're here at the end of 2019, and if you've never joined us before, then you are very, very welcome. So welcome to be here. What do we do? Well, we just chat about stuff. We chat about synths, chat about software, hardware, bits and pieces, music technology, things that upset us or please us, our histories, our lives, what inspires and creates us, or what we create, that kind of thing. And if we run out of things to say, then I'll just make a bit more music or something like that. I might have a couple of hidden boxes to look at. We might have some beer to drink, you know, and all of these things will help us flow along for the next hour or maybe two, just to kick back and relax. So my name's Robin Vincent. This is the Molten Music Technology channel. On here I do all sorts of things about synthesizers and Eurorack and stuff that goes bing and boom, and I build stuff and Eurorack bits and pieces and things, and I like to share it. I like to share what I'm doing, stick it on the internet, and people have a look and have a poke, and then once a month we get together, we chat about it, and that's what we're here. So, well, I mean, let's kick off by saying hi. I hope everyone had a very happy Christmas, a merry whatever it was that you like to celebrate, and that now this is kind of that dead time between Christmas and New Year. I mean, the 29th of December is nowhere. It's no man's land, and so that's why I thought it'd be good to sit here and chat about some bits and pieces. So let me say hello, David from Teddington. Good to see you. Do I like tomato? No, I don't know what that is. Is that some kind of tin tomato brand? I have no idea. Good evening, Stephen. Hello, mostly random beer acquired. Good job. Good morning to Taylor. Your name's Tomato. Anyway, That's strange. So, Boston. Hi, Arthur. Good to see you here. Hey, yeah, it's you. Hi. I don't know why I'm waving at the comments. I should be waving at the camera. You see, I still haven't got the hang of this, rather. Although I have to say that this evening's live stream, it kind of kicked off all by like itself properly. Like I actually went to the right place, clicked the right buttons, and it sat there saying, well, it's going to go live at 8 o'clock. And I'm going, what, really? I'm not just flapping around, hitting random buttons until the thing then just pops up and it just kind of goes for it. So what happened last month, I went live about 10 minutes early because I had no idea what I was doing as usual. However, it looks like we're cooking on gas today, so it's good to see you. Do you see an Instruo box? See, that would be extraordinary. I mean, just imagine to have an Instruo product. I mean, that's the sort of thing I dream about. I do. So that's got to be exciting, right? Oh, you know, we'll see. Please do more music. Oh, that's nice. Why is my mouse flat? That's nice of you to ask. I will try to. I mean, one little problem I have at the moment is that everything is all in pieces. I had to sort of throw a few things back together just to get some sound out. So everything is in disarray. So I don't have a great deal of things to call upon. I suddenly realised I have no sequencer, and I had to like plug one of those in and sort that out. Then I got no clock. Had to find a clock from somewhere, plug that into different places. So everything is a bit of a mess because I've had a lot of work on this month, and I've had to take a lot of things apart, put things back together again. You know, it's been tricky. In fact, I thought, just to give you a heads up, I'm planning to sort of do a studio tidy hangout. As in, I need to put everything back together. I need to sort it all out. I need to put up all my synths and just sort it all out. And I thought, well, that could be an interesting live stream for at least 3 or 4 people. They might enjoy that. So I thought I'd set up a camera and just live stream me putting my studio back together for an hour or two. I mean, that sounds like fun. I don't know when it will be. It'll just be a bit spontaneous, but come along and chill out while I try to get everything working. That'd be great. I've got some stands to build, these Loki stands. Have you seen those? I've been sent those to do a review of those, which is nice. I'll be setting up a few of those to see how they compare to the jam stands that I normally use. And I've had to face the reality of the Eurorack case in that, as you may know, if you've been following what's going on, I bought a couple of Behringer ones of these, because I thought that'd be interesting, made a video. It's been seen by everybody in the world, which is quite exciting. But once I've got them over there, the two of them, I realise it's still not enough. I have so many modules now that it's embarrassing. I have an embarrassing number of modules. So I'm going to need to get a third one, which means another power supply. It means, so I'm going to have to get all that together as well. But I really am excited, thrilled almost, at the idea of having 6 rows of Euroracks sitting here ready to play with, and actually being in a state where I can play with them. And more importantly, perhaps, is that I'll then be able to start reviewing modules properly. So I've gotten a bit behind on reviewing Eurorack modules, which is a shame because there's lots of interesting things I've had that I would like to spend some time with, and I'd like to share that experience with you. So yeah, lots to do. So yeah, join me for that. But so at the moment, all I'm trying to say is that it's all a bit kind of crappy, and I've got a couple of noises that we can explore a bit if the conversation lags, but otherwise we'll just keep at it. So yes, hi. Oh, a Japanese classical synth museum. Nice. As in, when you say Japanese classical, that to me makes me imagine like leather trousers and cellos. Which is weird. That's something, and a big fan hair. That's what I imagine when you say that. But the reason why is because I was at the end of the Pier show at Chroma just yesterday. The end of the Pier show. It's the only end of the Pier Christmas stage show in the world, and it's in a town just down the road from me on the coast called Chroma, which is a town that's kind of like almost dead. Doesn't quite manage to completely fall in upon itself. And every now and again, particularly over Christmas and then in the summer, it just comes alive. And it was songs and dances and variety and terrible jokes. And also this woman who leather trousers cello, she just didn't have the fan. I was quite disappointed that there was no fan blowing her across the stage, but otherwise it was spot on for that sort of thing. She did opera as well, but operatic, but cello. Fantastic. Lots of high kicks we had. Anyway, I'm digressing. So, hi, Honus. I think you all invent these names is what I'm coming to realise, that you just turn up and give yourself the most unpronounceable name possible just to make me look foolish. But I don't mind, I'm not fazed by these things. I'll just stumble on through like some kind of idiot and we'll get on with it. It's Nathaniel. Hi, Nathaniel. You see, now you're saying that like I'm supposed to know who that is. But, the other thing you have to understand about me is that I can't remember anything. I don't remember faces, names. It's a complete blank. It's a blur. So, that Nathaniel, I suspect. How you doing? How's your vegan Christmas? I mean, that was impressive, man. That was really impressive. So, tops on that. But tell me all about it. Yeah. So that's great. What? Okay, so let me just rewind through some of these comments that I've missed. Hello. Yes, Instrua. I don't even know what that is, but thanks for that, Ape. Yes, keep going at it. Please do more music. Yes, saw that. Showcasing amazing shirts. I try to. This is a bit of an old one. I almost thought of changing before I came out, and I had to check whether this is the same shirt I wore in the last month's one, but it's not. So I'm just going to go with it. I mean, I'm not particularly prepared or refined for this evening's chat. I'm a bit of a mess. I don't know what I'm doing. But we're here. What's probably important at this point is that I start drinking, and then that way I can just slowly sink downwards and then forget any kind of pretense of doing this in any kind of professional or proper way. But before we do that, let's say hello to a few more people. I'm just reading the same one over and over again. Brooklyn, Christopher from Brooklyn. Nice. How you doing? That's brilliant. That's really exciting. Yorkshire, hey up, yeah, nice. Okay, right, so more stuff about Tomita, sorry. Oh yeah, I meant to say that my knowledge, because in my last Molten monthly, I sort of planned to do my favourite music of the year kind of thing. I got a couple of records together and thought, yeah, I could do that. But then what I realised is that my knowledge of current music is just rubbish, awful. I mean, ask me about an 80s band, yeah, no trouble. Or even a 90s band, 80s indie and pop, 90s grunge and folk. Yeah, I'm all over it. But since then, no, not so much. So I have no clue as to who are the movers and shakers as far as electronic music goes. What I tend to do is I sort of approach the buying of new music. So I very much like and enjoy investigating new music. And so I tend to lean towards buying albums of people that I might vaguely know, like Heinbach, for instance, or Simon the Magpie, or that kind of thing. Rachel Kelly, those sorts of people who I have some kind of connection with. And that's actually been great. It's been really enlightening. So I have no idea about other normal people making music. All the stuff that Ian Bodie does on the in his little label. Is it Din Sync? No, that's something else. I can't quite remember. But he's got his little label. He puts out these CDs that got lots of wonderful modular stuff on it. So that's the sort of thing that I enjoy. As for names, faces, no clue, no idea. Although it was interesting because Electronic Sound Magazine, which I do subscribe to because I'm trying to learn more about the current music scene and those kinds of things, and I enjoy the magazine. I enjoy the idea of the magazine perhaps more than actually reading it in depth, but I do enjoy it, if that makes sense. But anyway, they put out a best of 2019 CD. That was very interesting. Interesting because some of the tracks on there were great. Some of them were just kind of, all right. And if that's a representation of the current music scene, that... what's shutting down? Okay, not worry about it. Keep going, you fool. If that's a snapshot of the current scene, then I think, well, actually, I can do that. I'm capable of producing music of that kind of level, of that kind of standard. And that was very, very exciting, very encouraging. And by that I meant it was good music, but achievable music, as opposed to it being a bit crappy, and so I can be just as crappy as that. So, yeah, that was interesting. So what I'm trying to say is that I didn't feel able to share my choices from the year because they probably wouldn't make any sense to anybody, because I'm not following any kind of this is what electronic music path is all about. I'm just scattergunning myself all over the place like I normally do, and then falling back to listen to a bit of Queen and electronic 80s. Oh, there you go. You know, Nathaniel, I don't really know what a shout out is. I mean, hi Nathaniel, that's great. So other than that, I don't know, mate. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you're after. But I understand you do Peppa Pig videos. If somebody's really interested in that, you'll find GD Phobosons in the chat, and you should go and check those out. Otherwise, tell us about your vegan lunch. So, moving on. By the time you get the Decker's Dream built, the Behringer CS80 will be in the shops. Maybe. Is that important? Is that important, or are they different? Are these different things? Does one replace the other? Just because there's something which also replicates something which replicates something, does that mean that that replication is the same as a replication that went before it? Or is there something in the very fact that my greasy fingers have been all over those components that will make it sound, to me, somehow specialer? More specials? I don't know. Because I think I'm into the idea of the Decker's Dream more than I am into the idea of a CS80. I'm more into the idea that I'm building something that somebody has put together that's been inspired by something awesome than I am actually having the instrument itself. Because, you know, I've got a virtual version of the CS80, the Arturia one, the Arminator one, and they're good, man, and they're fun, and you play with them, but it's not like a dream dream instrument. Whereas a Decker's Dream, it has elevated itself somehow. I mean, maybe probably only in my psyche, but it's elevated itself to a level of something else. Almost to the point now that I'm bound to get to the end, turn it on and go, because in my head, this thing has been built up to such enormity that it has to sound fantastic. This is, of course, assuming that any of it even works. What's the Meanwell power supply? Right, so let me not use my fingers because that always messes things up. Let me use the mouse here. Let's just churn down through. Yeah, Nathaniel, I know it's you, all right? We've got there. You have to work with the delay because I'm always about 10 minutes behind the curve. So whenever you ask a question, you've got to wait. Go make a cup of tea, come back, and then I probably might have answered it by then. But it's not an instantaneous thing, you know. Particularly when I'm talking to camera, then all this stuff down here, the comments are going on, and I'm ignoring it. So, so you got to get into the groove of how this sort of thing works. Derek, thanks for your comment. First time catching a live show. Good to see you, man. Thanks for coming along. That's great. Hi, Inverted. Pittsburgh modular synthesizers. You're leading with that you use a PreSonus 1824C. That's an interesting introductory comment. Maybe you said something earlier, or maybe somebody asked you something. I don't know. So PreSonus, you're finding that works really well. I mean, funnily enough, I have been reviewing this little fella here. It's a Motu M4. I got an M2 as well, but they're kind of exactly the same. And you can guess what the differences are, I'm sure. But it's been good. Probably the most annoying thing about it is that it didn't come with a USB-C cable. I mean, it's a USB-C interface. It's got USB-C on the back, and it had USB-C on one end, but on the other end, it just had regular USB. That seemed like a missed opportunity. Because to me, anyone who buys this is going to go, USB-C. I need USB-C because I have a USB-C socket. That's what I need it for. And then you're going to buy it, open the box and go, ah. So you then have to go onto Amazon and buy a 10 quid. I had to buy a cable So yeah, great, close but no cigar. But I mean, otherwise, it sounds great, works great, all that kind of thing. Not really seeing the performance increase. I mean, I've tested it alongside the Complete Audio 6. Very similar. Very similar in most respects. And in fact, I also checked it out going into USB-C and also going into USB 2. You know, very similar performance. So is that all it's cracked up to be? Oh, who knows? I mean, I think audio interfaces are pretty fast enough and good enough and perform well enough as they are, you know, on regular USB with regular stuff going on. So I'm not excited necessarily by the idea of USB-C, other than the fact it's a slightly smaller and perhaps feels more secure type plug interface. Nice cable. I like the cable. But maybe there's other people out there who are having a much more exciting experience than that. I don't know. You ordered a Coma Field kit. What on earth are you going to do with that? Now, is that the one that makes noises, or is it the one that records noises? Do you take it out into the field, or does it bring environmental sounds into your system? I can't quite remember. If I could be bothered, I'd look it up, but I don't know that I am. Hi from Norway, Grant. Good to see you. Dennis, thanks for featuring a Ukrainian manufacturer. Who was that then? Was that the Midify or the other one, the T1? Was it one of those? Was that Ukrainian? Don't know, stuff from all over the place we get these days. Your kids help out a lot. My kids are rubbish with that. My kids are well into everything I've been pumping into them. So they listen to a lot of Queen, and that's mostly my wife's fault. And they also like a lot of 80s, and their friends at school kind of laugh at them because their phones are full of old hits and old cool tracks from way back. And so, like my middle one, a 9-year-old, went to their Christmas disco, and he didn't know any of the songs. And that's a little bit sad, because definitely when I was a kid, I was, cutting edge, grooving, man, really on the hit parade of everything that was going on. And I'd like to encourage my kids to perhaps do the same, even if that music is awful, as undoubtedly it will be for those kids these days. But he just doesn't really like it because it sounds, how does he put it? It's just weird. It's all about body parts and stuff. Whereas, he likes the classics, like old music. He likes the soundtrack to Guardians of the Galaxy, and he likes the 80s electric, and he likes Queen, as I say. And fair play. I mean, he wants to hear about tingling bodies and all that horrible stuff when you're 9. You don't want that. You want some real music. You want Bowie in there, don't you? That's what you want. Yeah, the Pina Colada song, that kind of stuff. Album of the year, Alessandro Cortina. Interesting. I do have one of his albums, I think. I bought one at Modular Meat at one point. Again, I'm just slapping at stuff thinking I should probably buy this. And I don't know, I haven't enjoyed it that much. I haven't listened to it that much either. What I have listened to of that kind of genre is Detachi. Is it Detachi? Is that how you pronounce it? The Russian guy, Modular stuff. He did an album System, I think it was, last year, which I quite liked. But the one he did this year, with a very colourful front, is excellent. Excellent, almost completely excellent. And it's also interesting, I'm expressing an opinion on these sorts of things, is that I picked up Richard Devine's album as well. And there's one or two tracks in there that really appeal, but there's a lot of it is kind of just, I don't really know. I'm not fully engaging with it. I mean, it's the kind of stuff that I would perhaps like to make myself, but would I sit around and listen to it too much? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't wish to say anything bad about anybody's music, because I think the very art of producing music is an awesome thing. But for my palate, if you like, I found with Detachi and Richard Devine their sounds or their soundscapes or environments seem similar. There's a similar amount of bubbling of modular going on in there, and I definitely find myself enjoying Detachi's stuff more than Mr. Devine's. But that's just how I feel about it, I think. Hi to the Netherlands. This is like an episode of Eurovision. Tone Science. Yes, thank you. Tone Science. Love that stuff. I've got three of those CDs, I think. All of it really good. Sort of stuff you can put on in the car on a nice long journey. And you just, whoa. Great stuff. I wish you did more on vinyl, actually, because that's my better and preferred listening experience tends to be on vinyl. But, you know, I'll take what I can get. Jim, good to see you. Happy New Year to you too, sir. Happy New Year. Richard, where are the follow-up videos? Where are those follow-ups to the Surface Pro 7? You promised us Surface Pro 7 videos. Where are they? Well, let me tell you, they are on their way. They are on their way. I've had to spend a lot of time last couple of weeks focused on the ZenBook Pro Duo, this amazing laptop from Asus that I'm reviewing for Sound on Sound magazine, and I've had to pour all of my energy into that. That's why there's been no videos this month, really, because I've had to really focus. So that's also pushed away the Surface Pro 7 videos. However, what it has done is allowed me to really focus down on what it is that's important about testing a laptop, finding out what's good about a laptop, and developing and remembering the sort of tests I need to do. And so I'm going to take all of that and stuff it into the Surface Pro 7 because it was interesting and it confirmed a lot of things that I have been preaching about laptops and surfaces. And you know, I'm bang on right about the tweaking. I'm bang on right about the sort of performance and the troubles that you get. Bang on right about mobile processors. You know, all of that stuff that I've been testing and showing over the years is still there in other brands. It's not just about Surface, it's about other bits and pieces too. So I'm going to take all of that and apply it to the Surface, and hopefully I'll be able to do some more in-depth testing with that because it's still very much unproven. I mean, I did the video where I did the main tweak, and the tweak that I showed in my Surface Pro 7 video is absolutely the most vital one. If you do nothing else and just do that tweak, that is going to get you nearly all the way there, if not all the way there. But I need to show exactly what's happening with that and how that changes depending on what you're running, and then, of course, how that works with audio interfaces. It's another reason I had to sort of wait, because I wanted to get a USB-C audio interface, which is what this is. So now that I've got the Motu, I can plug that into it as well and test that out. So that was another reason why it's been held up. But it's on my to-do list for January, so I will get to it, along with the next question, which is always about the audio PC Windows thing. Yeah, I'll do that. I'm going to do that too. I promise. January is going to be a big month for videos, I think. I hope. I'd like it to be. I'd like it to be. Strange Viper, you built your case and just waiting for your modules. Nice. Is that the right way round? Shouldn't you get a module first and then build your case around it, knowing full well that, wow, in a minute, right, I'm going to be able to plug this in and it's going to work? Or wouldn't you have had it just out on your desk, plugged in, working, before you've even got the case? I don't know. Is that the right way round? I had this conversation with someone today about how, you know, that I shouldn't really be doing videos on DIY and soldering and stuff because I'm not an expert. I need to spend years learning it and digesting it and getting it right and having the right tools and making the right decisions before I should ever say anything, you know, out there in the world about it, which was interesting. I mean, that's one view. It's not a view I particularly hold, because otherwise I'd never get there. I'd never do it. If I had to wait till I was an expert and everything before I said anything. And that's not to say that being an expert is wrong. Not at all. Not at all. I admire all the experts about it, and I hope to get there. Some of the point of my channel is to demonstrate that you don't have to be an expert to try these things, that there are levels and tiers to everything, and you can build a synthesizer. You don't have to be an electronic engineer to do that. You can just do it, and that's okay, and that's valid, and that's all right. That doesn't make you an expert in anything. It doesn't mean you can tell other people how to do it necessarily. All you can do is show what you're doing, which is what I try to do. And then I attempt to focus my sporadic experience onto that and give an opinion. I think that's about it. So yeah. You bought a complete 12 Ultimate. Now that's going to take you days to install it, days to fiddle about in it. It's an immense thing. Immense. I think I've been doing the complete thing since the beginning. Pretty sure I have. And it's an annoying, I mean, it's wonderful. You have every synth in the world and that you can play with. It's also slightly annoying because when every update comes along, it costs a lot to update it, and you're only getting a couple of extras because you've already got the version before it. That's its only strange stumbling block. It should be a lot less to upgrade, I always think. So you end up missing a couple of generations, and then because the price is the same regardless of what complete version you have, and so you miss a couple of generations and then do a larger update down the line. At least that's what I found. What microphone do I use? I have a C3000 AKG that I've had for 20 years, sitting right there looking at me. It's all right, seems to do the job. I've also got an SM58, no, a Beta 58, beg your pardon, a slightly posher SM58, which I use if I'm singing live as opposed to recording in a studio environment like what I have here, of course. The DNI Pro. What was the DNI Pro? That was... Wait, it's coming. DNI Pro was... Was that the Dot? That was the Dot. The Dot, was that Ukrainian? Okay. It looked really interesting. 3 channels of stuff, a bit like my Compass over here, my Bastel Compass. 3 channels of stuff going on. That had 3 channels of triggers as well. If I'm right with that. Yeah, that was really interesting. Right. Green or silver? Green or silver? They're both Brewdog. They're both sort of IPAs. So I don't really mind. Either will do. But if you've got a preference, let me know. Because I'm starting to get a bit dry and I think I might need a drink. Happy Nerding is Ukrainian. Okay, cool. Hi, Jeff. Jeff in Michigan. Thanks for joining us. Is the Jove as good as it looks? Oh, it certainly is. Yeah, listen to this. Yeah, best blooming filter in the world, that fella. Yeah, I can't recommend it highly enough. Fantastic thing. Best purchase, I think. Definitely one of my... I use it all the time. It's constantly in use. Everything's always... Not everything, but things are always going through it. And it's so flipping musical. It loves sound going through it. You just go, oh, that's really nice. All the time. All the time. I mean, I have other filters. I've got, like, the Polavox over here. And that's a completely different feel. It's more of a... is that... Oh, I don't know. It doesn't have a sweetness about it. It has kind of a growl and a certain intensity about it. Whereas the Jove is it's just sweet. It's beautiful, melodic, lovely. So yeah, no, I quite like the Jove as it goes. So if you're thinking of a filter, yeah, get one of those. Get one of those. Yes, most certainly. Morwick, top of the day, sir. I've just picked up an 01X, really? That's a blast from the past. Do I have any idea if Mackie will work with it? What is it to have a Mackie mode? The 01X tended to have its own mode. It certainly had its own mode in Cubase. It's one of the ones that you could choose from the list of controllers. Does it do Mackie control? I wouldn't be surprised if somebody's written a script for it to do that. But it was around or invented the same sort of time that Mackie were making their controllers. And so it wasn't the standard as it is these days. All I can say is give it a go. You know, you're in a better position to find out than I am. Play some music for us, says Nick. I may do in a bit. There's a couple of modules you might look at, and that might develop into a little bit of music. But as I said earlier on, I don't have a whole lot of stuff ready to make sounds with. A couple of things. I'll see what I can do. See what I could do. You have to get me to stop talking. Da, ba, ba, da, da. DIY microphone-y. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Always got to have green first. Okay, good. Well, you know, at least somebody's paying attention. Okay. It's in the picture. Yeah, got it. Good. So I suppose what we should do is talk about the synths of the year, because what, we're half an hour into this thing. I haven't said anything yet. I've just been going on about stuff. So, best synth of the year then, 2019. What are we thinking? What was it that stood out from everything we saw? Not necessarily released everything that we saw. For instance, there's things like the motor synth. Did that ever get anywhere? Did we see that? Pulsar 23. Now, I've seen that pop up, I think, in Richard Devine's feed. So I think a couple of people have got one of those going on, which is very exciting. Matriarch, was that this year? Minilog XD, Microfreak, the Uno synth, the MS-101, MS-1. What other synths? There was the Udo, I suppose, the Super 6, which still hasn't quite arrived, but we've seen a lot of that about the place. Let me know while I just have a swig of me stuff and check the comments. Oh, that's better. I should have been doing that hours ago. Yeah, Jim, you went from complete 8 to 12. Yes. $400. Yeah, I know. I mean, it's the value for money is extraordinary, but it just gets annoying that I could be on version 4 and it only costs the same to upgrade to 12 as it does from version 8. That just used to annoy the hell out of me. There's just some kind of inbuilt injustice about it, that you've been supporting a product for time and time and time again. You should be rewarded for that, not, you know. Anyway, but you have to make the choice at some point, and it is, I mean, it's phenomenal good value. Amazing. And you'll never get to the end of it. The only thing that annoys me slightly, but it's the same. I mean, I've recently built a new computer that I've been doing the Build an Audio PC series on, and reinstalling everything and moving across, and then testing a laptop or testing something else and moving more stuff across. Authorizations. I mean, it's so much easier, actually, these days than it used to be, but it's just vast, all the stuff. All the gigs of stuff that has to download. It's just extraordinary. Extraordinary. Sorry, Nathaniel. Thoughts on Korg? Okay. Oh, Massive X. Was that this year? Yes, it was. So you sent your MS1 back because the sequencer is not switch offable by MIDI, says Sneaky Disco. So you want to turn the sequencer off via MIDI, and that was a game changer for you. Not a game changer, a deal breaker. Interesting. Why? I mean, you know, things are important to people, I guess. Lots of things are important to people, and that's your right, and that's the whole point of trying something out and being able to send it back, because I mean, as someone like myself, as a reviewer of something, there's always stuff within a product that you hadn't even thought to speak on, to make comment on, or even to try out. There's always stuff, because people are doing weird things. They do stuff, you know. I get asked questions like, well, how do you MIDI this into that and that into that and that into that? It's like, well, what on earth are you doing that? Why would you do that? Oh, it's very important. It's an absolute essential to my workflow. Oh, okay, fair enough. It just had never occurred to me to work in that way. And that happens quite a bit because we're all developing our own way of doing things. But I mean, particularly, I think, as we having, if you're, like me, you've perhaps been doing stuff on computer a lot. You've gotten used to that environment, everything being sucked inside the box. And along with that, there's a little bit of a relief that you're not having to deal with cables anymore, and MIDI cables, and this sync to that sync, and that's and everything else. Then, of course, everything is coming back out of the box, and we've now got this here, and this little synth over here. And you sort of scratch your head going, well, how do we connect these up again? What does MIDI through do? Does it have a MIDI through? What happens if I do this? It's like, oh, my drum machine's playing my synth. How do I, It's almost like there's a whole generation of people who don't understand MIDI. And that's fascinating. I mean, 20 years ago, we were teaching people about MIDI in Turnkey Music Shop, showing people this is what you need. You need a MIDI cable. Oh, an M1D1 cable. Yes, that's right. If you like, an M1D1 cable. Sure, why not? Just plug it in the out, and plug it in the in. Not out to out. No, not in to in. No. In, is that an input? No, yes, it is, but it's, anyway. So, but we're having to go through that again and explain what channels are about. And this is all at the same time in the background. We've got all those bunch of MIDI Manufacturer Association nuts trying to stuff MIDI 2 at us and MPE and all this business going on. It's like, enough. It's hard enough getting across the concept of 16 MIDI channels, let alone having to work out how MIDI 2.0 works. I mean, is that actually going to make things easier for people? Or is it just going to make it more complicated for poor salespeople in shops trying to flog a controller keyboard and a cable in order to get people working? I don't know. I think it just makes things more complicated. And who does it? How many people need it? How many people need that MPE expressive play? I mean, it's fun. I play with it. I like Bigwig and all that. I've got a Rolly keyboard. Those things are fun, but they're kind of bonuses, kind of extras. When you knuckle down and actually writing a track, I think you very rarely need to wobble that one note while the rest is sustaining. Do you know what I mean? Or do those crazy pitch bend drags or the THX thing. I don't know. I mean, maybe everyone's doing it all the time, but I don't really see it. Anyway, why did I go down this road? Oh, who knows? Oh, yeah, because you sent your MS-101 back. I mean, that's a shame. I mean, I would say an MS-101. Got one here, right? Oh, don't fall off. No. I would say that this is a good candidate for Synth of the Year. Synth of the Year. Why would I say that? I don't know. Well, let me think about it. Let me talk about it. Let me start talking about it, and then I can tell you why would I think this would be the best Synth of the Year. A number of reasons. First of all, it's a synth. I mean, look at it. It's a proper synth. Right? It's chunky, it's heavy. I mean, it might be made of plastic in places and metal in others, but it's got a keyboard and it's got controls on it. You know exactly where you are. And that's part of it. There's no other little synth I've come across, or big synth I've come across, I've now got to try and put it down somewhere, that somehow gives you that sense of knowing where everything is and what everything is doing. A lot of things like the Microfreak, although it has the keyboard built in, there is some menu stuff going on. There's some slight weirdness going on. You don't always see everything that you're trying to understand, and the knobs are encoders in places and not really telling you everything that you could be knowing. Whereas that SH101 layout with those sliders, you know exactly what's going on. You know what it is that it's doing. I mean, when I was putting together those patch videos, it was interesting because you could, just by looking at a picture of it, you could recreate those sounds by putting the sliders where they were from the photo of it that I'd taken. That was just brilliant. Or you could sketch them out. That's proper analog synthesis to me. Other thing that I like about it is that it sounds great. I can plug it in, and once I've worked out why I'm not getting any sound for a couple of minutes, and then, oh, there we go, there's sound again, because I had the filter shut, or the envelope was too small or something. It just sounds very, very satisfying. It's not like a massive bass synth. It's not a paddy synth. It's just a synthy sounding synth. The filter is always good. It's always fruity. It's always giving you a little bit of interest, and you can tie it to the keyboard. You can tie it to the modulation. You can, do what you like with it. It's great. Sequencer, I really like. I mean, okay, it can't be stopped via MIDI apparently, but I'm playing with it by itself. I just set it going and just enjoy it and just play with the sliders and play with the sound. And that's a synthesizer, man. That's what it is. I'm not menu diving. I'm not swapping through presets. I am setting something going and I'm adjusting the sound and changing it, sculpting it, crafting it, and spending time doing that. I mean, that's a winning combination. Do I care that it's a copy of the Roland SH-101? No, I don't care or not care. I don't think it's a question of caring. It's a question of, what's this product like? Is it about it? Does it replicate something that I always thought was pretty cool? Then yeah. Is that good? Yeah, probably. I don't know. I don't want to necessarily get really deep into that, because I think it just takes us down the roads. I mean, I mean, there's a lot of discussion about ethics in Behringer at the moment, which is interesting. I have no doubt that it's an interesting discussion. But when you start talking about ethics, it just, to me, it seems to be, well, you can push this in any direction you like. You can make people feel bad about themselves. You can make a product appear bad, but you can start then bringing that out and start making other things feel bad. Other things feel bad. And it becomes very moralistic. You're placing judgments onto people and reflecting that on other people's choices. And that gets uncomfortable. Gets uncomfortable with me. Doesn't sit well with me all the time, so I tend to back off that a little bit. And also there's an awful lot of hypocrisy starts coming in, where you're saying, well, this thing is definitely ethically suspect, whereas this thing isn't, because they're cool and we like them, whereas I don't like this one quite so much. But similarly, I'm not really into the massive fandom that also gets generated around products like Behringer, for instance, because there's a whole load of people out there who are very grateful for what Behringer are doing, and that's awesome. But there's also people that start to get really, irate and intense and angry about these things. I mean, it's a synthesizer, man. Let's just chill out about these things. Similarly, but there's also a group of people who go, "Oh, it's Behringer, it's rubbish." I mean, I don't know. I don't know why that has to be in either way. It's like a tool that you want to use or not, from a company you like or don't. Or you don't have to like a company to buy their product. You don't have to buy a product if you like a company. Just chill. Hydra synth. Now that's the hipster synth of 2019. That's the one that everyone's really, really hot on, very, very cool on. It has somehow, for some reason, an extra level of coolness. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe it's because they've done this desktop and keyboard version. So you've got keyboard players really interested in it, but also people who are more into, looping stuff, padding stuff, beating stuff. I don't really know. It's just interesting how the Hydra synth definitely has this vibe to it that other synths haven't had. Is it because who's talking about it? All the cool cats out there are talking about it. Maybe that is reflecting something about it. I don't know. I did see one in the flesh at Synthfest. I didn't get the opportunity to try it out. So hopefully this time around that might happen. That sort of thing. Very interesting though. I'm quite interested in how different the perception of different products, in how some things are seen as cool and other things not so cool, and why that is, what it is about these things that does that. It's interesting. Like the Microfreak, for instance, is seen as extremely cool, and that's interesting. Why that one in particular? Because it's an odd box, it's an odd synthesizer, but capable of interesting things, of course. Yeah, you can use it for very interesting stuff. I think you can have a lot of fun and spend a lot of time with it and get a lot of things out of it, as you can with many synthesizers. But it's just its level of cool and quirkiness. I mean, maybe because Cuckoo has said it's cool, in which case that just elevates it up to something else. Maybe that's all down to YouTube influencers. Maybe that's what denotes is cool these days. Does that mean I could say something is cool and then it's cool? I don't get that feeling from my output. I get the feeling that people are usually argue with me most of the time about anything. That's fine. I don't feel that I have an influence necessarily. I feel perhaps I sometimes I manage to explain some things for people, and that's great. That's all I'm really trying to do. I don't think I'm moving or influencing the market as such. I don't think that's my bag, man. Anyway, where are we now? The Crave, says Dominic. Behringer Crave? Maybe. I thought it was a nice synth. Yeah, I played with it at the Thomann Synth Reactor back last March, way before it was out. Yeah, it was nice. Apparently, it's a Mother 32. I mean, it doesn't look like a whole Mother 32 to me, but apparently it has the same architecture as a Mother 32. Mother 32s are nice also. The Crave is, I think, because for me, there's lots of different aspects to a synthesizer. It's not just how it sounds or what it's made from. It's also to do with the workflow. It's also to do with how it's laid out. And there's things about the Mother 32 that I don't like in its layout that the Crave actually does better, I think. So yeah. Interesting. I'm not trying to say there's any kind of resolution or answer to these sorts of questions of copies and old reproductions of bits and pieces. I just think it's interesting to talk about. The Moog Grandmother, but that was last year's synthesizer, wasn't it? That was last year's. I agree, the Grandmother's a great little synth. There's something about both the Grandmother and the Matriarch which have another level, and it's not a cool level because there's a very much split opinion on whether the Grandmother and Matriarch look any good or not. Some people really hate that kind of look. Me, I'd like it, but what it seems to bring in my playing with them at various shows and bits and pieces is that there's some kind of warmth in there. There's some kind of, you call it a heart if you like. I mean, obviously we're talking about electronics here, so what on earth would that mean? I don't know, other than to say that when you play it, there's something there that's not in a smaller synth, in a synth by somebody else. There's just a sense, a feeling, a vibe. Oh, the force, man. Something in Moog stuff that just somehow radiates something more. I mean, maybe it's perception again. I mean, maybe it's just because they produce these really cool videos of very cool people playing very cool music. Maybe it's that. I don't know. But, yeah, if I had a choice of synthesizer at the moment, something like the Grandmother, well, probably the Matriarch, because I just want 4 notes, would be a marvellous thing to have. A marvellous thing. The Osmose. What was that? Osmose. Might have to look that up. Oh, I can't be bothered. No. Tell me what it is. Hopefully I'll hit the comment in a minute. What was the Osmose? I can't pull it out of my head. I can't. Matriarch. Yeah. Access virus. God bless you. I had a TC Electronics power core back when TC Electronics were TC Electronics. And the best thing about the power core was the flipping Access virus plugin. Superb. I wrote an entire album based on that, I think, pretty much. It was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. It was the soft synth I used all the time for everything. It was just great. But it blew up, and then I bought another one. I bought a Firewire one because this was on an old card. In fact, I think I might. Oh, did I throw the card out? I think I did. Then I bought a rack version for far too much money directly from TC, and I couldn't transfer any of my plugins because the plugins were NFR. There's ones that they had given me when I got the card back when I worked at Turnkey. So they'd given me all these NFR plugins for the power core, which were packed into this album that I was trying to finish. Power core blew up. Got a new rack one in, and they wouldn't transfer the NFR licenses across. God. Oh, it was painful. I had to pay so much money, and then TC got bought by Behringer, and the power core disappeared. That was not a happy thing. Not a happy thing at all. Reason loading VSTs. Yes, that was a highlight of this year. And indeed, Reason acting as a VST instrument itself. I've been doing that a lot, actually, in my testing of the ZenBook Pro Duo, using a lot of Europa and Reason instruments within other larger projects in order to test them. Very interesting. I mean, it's just fantastic. It's what they always should have done. It kind of required a change of management to make that happen, didn't it? No, I mean, that's a massive innovation, because it also means that kind of Rewire is now dead, which is no bad thing, because Rewire was just a pain every time. Every time. Drive you nuts. Drive you nuts. Oh yeah, the Osmos is that controller keyboard. Yeah, the Roadie killer, they say, because it has like a keyboard that actually presses and notes and stuff. Yeah, well, no, I mean, all the cool guys have said that that's good as well, so that automatically gets this distortion field of coolness around it, because all the right people have said that it's very, very good. And people that I believe as well, and they're quite excited about it. Again, but we're back to this idea of, do we need those individual warbly notes and bits and pieces? Does it make you play instruments better? I mean, it's nice to have that slidey on the filtery kind of thing. Maybe I just don't have the imagination to see exactly what could be possible. Don't know. But it's a nice looking piece of kit, that's for sure. Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Good. Yeah, nice pick for the year, I think, that one. Turnkey and Charing Cross Road. Yes, Turnkey and Charing Cross Road. That's where I cut my teeth in the world of music technology. I worked there from 1996 through to 2005. Almost 10 years of my life I gave to that place. Just extraordinary. The DFAM. Yeah, but yeah, DFAM's last news. I mean, that was another thing we heard, that Moog are not doing the Moog Fest this year. And I wrote a little article about that, which saying, oh, it's such a shame, because I certainly aspire to go to Moog Fest. It looks like a very cool thing. I'd love to be on the VIP circuit. I'd love to be doing the workshop, building some synthesizer with Moog engineers. That all just sounds fantastic. Then I got a stream of comments from people saying, no, Moog Fest is a disaster. They don't know what they're doing. It's chaos. You have to pay a whole load of money to do anything, or go anywhere, or be anywhere, or see anything. So I think perhaps in that reflection, that Moog are rethinking it is perhaps a really good thing. Maybe they are listening to people and going, well, all right then, if it's not really working, then we should change it. Because they're also, I mean, I get a very, very positive vibe from it, and I was quite surprised to find that that's not always the case. But good on them for taking a step back and going, sod it, let's rethink it. I mean, that's really healthy, I think. The DFAM is a one-trick pony. But is it a trick that you want? If it's the pony you want to ride, and that trick is the trick that you're after, then that's no bad thing. Because one of the things with Eurorack is that a lot of this stuff are one-trick ponies. You just got to get a lot of them together. Then you've got more tricks. Yeah, no doubt. I rubbed shoulders with lots of people in Turnkey, so it was bloody crowded in there. Sausage Fattener, synth of the year. I don't know what that is. Reactor 6. Yeah. Reactor blocks I've been enjoying very much all the time. That's good, yeah. Get a lot out of that. Well, Moog did recently leak something accidentally via a Polish magazine that they are releasing a subsequent 25. Although somebody else has said to me that, oh no, it's all lies because it's just the same copy as you get on the subsequent 37. Maybe, I don't know, but it's in a magazine for a price. You've got to think that's going to be fairly real. I mean, the sub Fatty, which I think is probably more of an upgrade to, has been around quite a while now, so perhaps it's more of a trying to find a synthesizer somewhere between the sub Fatty and the sub 37. That would be my guess. Although it does kind of places itself strangely next to the grandmother somehow in that kind of monosynth, but it is a very different synthesizer experience. You know, you've got presets, you've got a bit more of a tight layout, whereas the grandmother is very modular and very open. So I think it appeals very much to two different sides of the market. Any news on Reactor 6? Yeah, it's been out for ages, mate. Or do you mean running on the Surface? If you mean running on the Surface or running on the new processors, then no. They sent me a little test tool to try, but I just have not had the time to sit down with the Surface Pro 7 and to check that out. But I will do. I will get to that. I will get to that. Thank you, Jamin. Yes. What about the Roland Jupiter XM? I don't know. I mean, when they released that video on the two Jupiters, the X and the XM, the X, I thought, on first impressions, fan-flipping-tastic. It looks like a proper big synth. It's like, Roland, fantastic, well done. It looks like a real thing. It looks retro, it looks cool. But then you watch it a bit more, you think, oh, it's kind of... It's starting to feel a bit workstation-y. It's starting to feel a little bit like it has everything. It's an everything synth. You know, like the Korg Cross or the Yamaha Mod X, those sorts of things. So they just have everything packed in, and that appeals to me less. I like, I don't know, there's something about it. I mean, I haven't played with the XM either, but I've heard people say that it has a lot of stuff in there, but somehow the workflow is not as instant. You've got layers of stuff, you've got menu diving and stuff going on. And ultimately, it's going to be a digital thing. I mean, it may be a next level, next generation of digital stuff beyond the analog circuitry behavior modeling that they did before and into something else they're calling Zen, I think it is. I don't know, a Zen core. It's got to be good. So, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, my experience with big synths is mostly software, I suppose. Because I don't have any big synths myself, and in Eurorack I'm mostly dealing with monophonic signals going through the place, trying to find their home. So big synths, I am less experienced with these sorts of things. I mean, I used to know all about them in the earlier days when I was having to fix them at Turnkey, but I don't know. I don't know what it is I want. I mean, at Synth Reactor in March, I had the opportunity to play with the Moog 1, System 8, the Peak, and the Prologue, and it was very interesting trying them out because they were very different. System 8 had some great sounds in it, but I was overwhelmed by the green lightness and not really knowing exactly what was going on. The Moog 1 was just a whole other world, and I knew there's no possibility of ever reaching for owning anything like that. So, you sort of treated it with a little bit of awe, I think. The Peak, yeah, that was all right. That was good, solid. But for me, it was the Prologue that really felt awesome as a polysynth. It did exactly what I thought it should do. It worked in the way that I thought it should. The workflow was good, and it sounded and responded to things that I did. So that's the one that I enjoyed the most, I think. So I've no idea how the Roland XM sort of compares to that. But just as a general rule, I'm not big into the everything synth. I like it to do something that's a bit more on the front panel, a bit more obvious, a bit more focused and intentional, I use this camera. That's not very nice. It's a Canon EOS 70D. Thanks, Nathaniel, for asking. The Arturia V collection is fire. Yes, it's certainly very nice. You get a lot of stuff in there. A lot of stuff. Now I'm just going to rewind a little bit in case I missed anything big. Do I have a Discord server? No, I don't. I don't. Milo Melodies was paid to promote the DFAM. Was he? I just think he really liked it. I mean, you know, he works for a company that distributes Moog, so there's a little bit of that perhaps in there, but I generally think the guy just likes stuff and pushes stuff that he likes because he likes it. I have no sense of anything else other than that from Mr. Melodies. Oops, sorry, I'm having trouble grabbing the thing. Well, yeah, Reactor 6 is a bit of a mess in places, yeah, but there's bits about it which are awesome. It depends on what you're trying to do, I think, because it still hangs on to its roots of being extremely modular and programmable at a very deep level, which also makes it kind of troublesome and frustrating to use sometimes at a higher level if you don't really understand what's going on underneath. So there's definitely a bit of that. I mean, the browser still in Reactor drives me nuts. In all the native instrument stuff, the browser, it does me in. It does me in. I don't know what synth am I using? You know, where's this preset come from? Is it from here? And what am I searching for exactly? You know. So, you know, those things are perfect. Oops. No, I don't want to do that. So, I'm thinking what beer are we swigging tonight? I am drinking Brewdog Dead Pony IPA, I think. Do I use any effects pedals? Yes, I have. I sold all my effects pedals at one point because, well, you know, you just ran out of money. I think I was trying to buy my first modules, and so I thought guitar pedals, they can go. But then very quickly I realised that, oh, I play guitar and I don't have any pedals. So I picked up a reverb and a delay and a chorus, you know, my standard ones, from TC Electronics / Behringer. Simple, cool little looking ones. And I use those. Sometimes I do connect them through this. I have a effects loop by Strymon that allows me to use them with it. It's particularly useful for reverbs and delays, because the great thing about a delay pedal is that it just kind of works. Often Eurorack delays are far too complicated, and it's like, why does that not just sound good? Whereas I put a pedal there, it just sounds good. It just sounds right. It seems to delay at the right time, like it's got some kind of sixth sense about it. Whereas some delays like the Magneto or the Eventide one that I've got, it's like you're scratching your head going, well, why can't I just get it to make a delay? You know, an echo. I just want an echo, man. So yeah, occasionally I do use pedals. Do you have any tips to start a track? Yes, just start it. Just do it. Put it 10 BPM faster than you thought, and play some drums, and then do some bass. Then add some pads, some strings, some tinkly bits, a couple of effects, and then a guitar track, and you're done. It's not difficult. It's not difficult. What about the Korg Triton VST? I think it's brilliant that the Korg collection is back and happening and still doing its thing. I did a gig for my 40th birthday, which is 10 years ago. 10 years ago. And I ran some soft synths on a little notepad, you know, a tiny weeny little small computer that I had to overclock slightly to stop the crackles. And I used the Korg VST collection. Funny enough, a crack of the VST collection at the time because I didn't own it. But I just wanted to, because I was doing a lot of, for my 40th birthday, I did a whole bunch of 80s music. And, you know, it had the M1 in there and other bits and pieces that I just wanted to use. So for that occasion, I did that. I'm not proud about it, but it was an awesome gig. So I've always liked the Korg collection of stuff. I think that's really interesting. I desperately wanted an M1 when I was at college, and they had one there that I used to play a lot, spend a lot of my free time doing that. which is weird because it's one of those everything synths. You see, I've come away from all of that now, but that was the thing that I thought was coolest at the time. On the other hand, the Triton sounds like a bunch of 90s and noughties sounds. I like the idea of it more than I actually like the sound of it, because it is very iconic and it does have a whole bunch of sounds that you recognise. It's just that I recognise them from an era that I'm not particularly interested in. So it doesn't really have that cool retro appeal to me because it's just not old enough, ultimately. But I think it's a good thing for them to have done, certainly. And I also like the fact that it's on a computer as opposed to just being iOS. Everything blooming iOS these days. But to actually be able to integrate it properly into your DAW is an awesome thing. Oops. So you were having some problems with Reactor there. I can tell. That's good. Well, maybe you can find some stuff. So Nathaniel, just chill out, man. Just calm down. Calm down. That'd be great. Just need to relax and chill out. 1010 Music Bitbox. Interesting. 1010 Music stuff. Yeah. Interesting idea. I mean, I like the way that you're taking a particular form factor and then driving that in different directions to produce different things. Although they're not always compatible with each other. It's a very cool thing. I really like the mock that they've done within that, the oscillator from that synth I can no longer remember the name of. The Wave Razor. Thank you. So what would I most like to see? So where are we now? We're on quarter past what's it? All right, we're going to look at these in a minute. All right, going to look at these. Mustn't get distracted. You're sitting down to put your first bit of solder on your chopping kinky. Cool, heck, I wouldn't do that listening to me prattle on. I might say something outrageous and then you'll just go, oh my goodness, and you'll set fire to something or burn yourself. Smell of chicken is never a good thing when you're soldering. But, good luck with that. And stay to the course. So there's a lot of stuff in there. It gets a bit packed at times. But, yeah, and also I don't have any idea what it does at the other end. I had a bit of trouble going, is it working? I have no idea. What's it doing? Oh, I don't know. But it's a bit of a wave folder. So it can produce some interesting tones if that's your thing. I've not really found wavefolding to be my thing, particularly a little bit. It's like wavetable and scanning wavetables. I don't know. I kind of like the analog sound. I like sine waves and square waves very, very much. Wavetables, kinda. If it's moving, maybe we get into some movement later on. Anyway. Yeah, no clue on joysticks. Erica Synths do a joystick, I think. Otherwise, I don't have any opinion on that. Excuse me. Okay, am I at the bottom of the list, am I? Not quite. The Model 15 app, yeah, that's really good. I've heard that to be good. I don't have an iPad that's powerful enough to run it. Right, so what am I looking forward to in 2020? Yeah, something for in 2020. I am... Well, of course, there's going to be a whole bunch of new synths from Behringer, I imagine. Will they actually arrive? Who knows? But it's an exciting time simply because of the amount of hardware that's being produced. It's going to be interesting to see the Super 6 when that finally makes it. It's also the Pulsar 23, although, as I say, I think that is kind of released. It's just very slowly making its way out there. As for new stuff, Korg seems to have something potentially around the corner. So that's could be cool. I mean, previously we've had the Prologue, and we've had the Mini Log, the Prologue, and the Mini Log XD. I mean, all those have been awesome things from Korg, and we've heard that they've got an ARP 2600 around the corner as well, which doesn't actually surprise me because of their ARP Odyssey. What surprises me is how long it's taken them to get to this point. They should have done that. That should have been the follow-up to the Odyssey. Once they'd worked out that people actually like large keys, then they should have finished that off, got on with the 2600. I think that would have been awesome. They kind of missed, they've put themselves back a couple of years from that, I think. But what is interesting about the 2600? I don't really know. It's more to do with what it's been used on, what people have used it for, and the idea that it's this big panel. There's something about the size of it that's very interesting. I mean, I was certainly considering it as, if I ever get to the end of the Deckar's Dream, to be the next kit that I build, the TTSH from SynthCube. I thought that might be interesting. Maybe. So what else are we looking forward to? Well, I'm looking forward to the motor synth actually arriving and turning up and being everything perhaps it could be, because I don't know that it is as awesome as it thinks it is. And I wonder what's taking the time in getting that right. And I wonder whether they have decided that it needs to have something more than the fact that it has these motors spinning. I mean, maybe that's not bringing a tone or a timbre or an idea that's enough to drive it by itself. I don't know. Interesting. Very interesting. I'm interested to see more analog polysynths coming down the line. I'm interested to see more stuff out, more hybrids that bring different things together. You know, I don't have any idea. I think it's become quite obvious that I have no idea as to what the next year or the next decade will bring us. What I think I'm seeing trend-wise is more of a combination of things. So although people are pushing out of the box now into hardware, we are going to learn yet again that connecting all these things up is difficult. And actually having a computer in the middle, if most things have USB to some sort of degree, is that we're going to need to start thinking about getting sort of USB hubs and boxes that are particularly good at routing MIDI in and out, or perhaps have MIDI features built in, like the RetroKit stuff. Things like that. Interconnectivity between our external hardware and our Eurorack and our doors and our computers, because ultimately you're going to be reaching back at a computer. I think once you start making tracks of some kind, the computer inevitably comes into play. It tends to be the destination. It tends to be the tape machine. It may be the place where you can save some work, you know. And so I think ideas of just, you know, going doorless, I think are short-sighted. And I think we're going to find increasingly ways of bringing together the door and the hardware, the external hardware. So that means that, you know, desktop mixers or line mixers, things like that are going to come back in abundance, I think. Because, I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't want a huge mixer that takes up all this desk space that I could have 4 synthesizers on. You know, I just want perhaps a little rack, something here with a few knobs on to use as some kind of line mixer. That would be far more useful than a big thing with, you know, EQ and sends all over it. No, I'm doing that kind of thing elsewhere. So, yeah, ways of bringing everything together, I think, is what 2020 is going to be about. So utility boxes, audio interfaces, DC coupling, MIDI to CV, CV to MIDI, those sorts of things are going to be prevalent, I think. And will MIDI 2.0 actually be a thing? Will we get there? Will it make a difference? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know. I don't know. So yeah, Nathaniel, I did a whole series of videos on how to build an audio PC. So that's my recommendation. It's all there, hours of it. Video upon video, 6 videos, 7 videos at the moment, I think, and more to come. So that's what I recommend as far as PCs goes, is to build one of your own, have a budget of between £1,000 and £2,000 and go for that. Anything beneath that, then, you know, anything will do. Anything will do. A 10-year-old computer will be fine. Go with that. Yeah, well, I mean, MIDI 2.0 is for expressive keyboards, but it's also for this interrogation thing where you can, oh, I don't know. For instance, you've got two different monosynths from different places, and you're playing them via MIDI from your DAW. The idea is that through this ability to interrogate, which I can't remember exactly what the term is now, that everything will be mapped to the same place. So you don't have to remap everything every time you change to a new piece of hardware or to a new piece of software for that matter. That everything that is similar will all be mapped to the same place. I mean, kind of like how MIDI was supposed to be, where they have controller numbers for specific things, but that never seemed to work out like that. However, with MIDI 2.0, that's going to be better because you can have a two-way conversation that asks the questions, what are all your controller stuff? Oh, okay, that's that. We're going to map all this to this automatically. And so you should, hopefully, the idea is you can write a track with one particular synthesizer and you can do all the automation, and then you can think, sod it, I'm going to change to a completely different synth. And you do that and everything still works. It's all still mapped to the same places, controlling the same stuff. And if you've ever tried to actually do that, move from one synth to another, you will know how flipping awesome that is. I mean, that's massive, really. And that is actually what's more important about MIDI 2.0, rather than the fact that you can wobble one finger while putting another finger straight. You know, that's the deal, really. That's the deal. Should we look at these modules then? Let's do that. Okay, so our friend DivKid, he released a new module. He released a module a little while ago called the Mutes, which I have over there somewhere in disarray, which was great. I mean, what Ben's particularly good at is identifying, well, not a hole exactly, but something which just, if only this did this, if only we had something that did this, if only there was something that did this, because he is pulling his rack apart and putting stuff in all the time. He's constantly using new modules and changing stuff, and he is going through a lot of gear. He's not sitting around getting his own system perfect and then wondering what he needs to make these things happen. He's testing a lot of different stuff, and so he sees where it would be great to be able to do a couple of simple things. So with his next module called the Oct in Scottish, it's built with Intruso, which is absolutely awesome to have teamed up with them. And it's a modulator. It just kicks out 8 LFOs that all just move about. Fantastic, because I have a Batumi, which is my LFO, and I use it all the time. I have it completely stacked all the time from everything. And so I'm always in need of more LFOs, not because I'm trying to modulate something specifically, more because I just want to inject movement around the place. I want the filter to move. I want... Oh, crikey. What's gone on? No. Hang on, stand by your beds. Is that still working? Not still working. Oh dear. Are we back? Are we still streaming? Or did I go away? Well, that's still working. Ah, excellent connection. Is that working? I don't know. What happens when that goes away? Because it should be back. Why is that not back? Why is that not back? Desktop capture. Let's get that. Oh, it's all gone pear-shaped. Oh no! Are we back? And we're back. Okay. Oh, crikey. See, I've got this dodgy cable, and it's the only cable I've got, unfortunately, that's plugged into my camera, and I think it just had enough at that point. That's it. I see it. I'm off. That's what it thought. That's what it thought. But that's okay. How can you merge or join two sound cards on Windows 10? You can't. You can't. You can try using ASIO for all, but it's not that great. You can't do it. Use one sound card, one audio interface. Find one, use that. Don't use two. It's not going to work. Okay, good. Right, so back to where we were. We're going to have a look at this thing. It is a modulator. It's not very big. I haven't plugged it in or used it. It's still in its box. I was able to pick it up from the post office the day before Christmas Eve, I think. So there, yeah, the Oct. So the idea is you've got a whole bunch of LFOs that come out at different speeds, and you can change a global speed, but the speeds themselves aren't necessarily related to one another. It just gives movement. So I think I should plug it in, and we should give it a go. Do you think? Do you think? Well, I'm going to do that anyway. So let's try not to blow myself up. You talk amongst yourselves. Oh dear, let's take my glasses off. Because I've now had a beer, so I need to be careful that I'm just not going to blow myself up. Well, that's not actually labelled for power, but it has a bit here that I'm assuming is going to be red stripe down. You could be, if that was just confirmed with a plus or a minus or something, that would be enormously helpful. Well, just go with it. Oh, come on. Come on. Right. I'm loving my sliding nuts. Now, of course, I would love to bring the camera in to show you this a little bit closer. My fear is that my cable will drop out again and we'll all go for nothing. So you're going to have to just bear with me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the sound back on. I'm going to plug this in to various things to see what it does, yeah? It's flashing lights over here. Just going to turn it down a little bit. Apparently it goes to like, one of the LFOs can go down to like 25 minutes, which is nuts. It's just nuts. So, so it's an LFO, right? Yeah? You can hear that. There's the next one. Nice. So I can start plugging that into things. So yeah, something like that. Something along those sorts of lines. Oh, are we still here? Yes, we are. So, the Oct then from DivKid, it just injects movement and modulation about the place. I mean, I think probably the thing to sit next to it, I'm likely to sit next to it, is a trimmer, so that I can, rather than have it going all the way, I just want a bit more of a wobble in different places. But yeah, I mean, that's really essentially it. It's not complicated. But it's interesting. I've overdone it a little bit, so I've tried to pack everything in there into something that I'm not really fully understanding. But, you know, sometimes when you do that, it produces something beautiful. Other times it produces something a bit like this. Sorry, I'm getting distracted now. Oh, right, okay, sorry. Blah, 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 blah. So yeah, fascinating stuff. Fascinating stuff. That's a modulator thing called Oct from DivKid. It just pumps modulation through, yeah, and it just takes you on another journey. Takes you on another journey, go down another road to see if you can find out where on earth that is going to end. Now, eat it. Just go easy, man. We're just here. We're just having a nice time, you know. Just playing with stuff. Yeah, I'm very, yeah. Just chill, man. I'm just playing with a couple of things that I happen to have, you know. As I said at the beginning, my rig, I've only got a couple of things that are making noise at the minute because everything else is unplugged and everywhere else. I'm just putting a couple of things together. This thing here, the Voltage Lab, is kind of doing its own thing. And no, I haven't gotten to the bottom of it yet. But, you know, was just here making a few noises and seeing what happens. So that was the plan. Now, the other thing that happened when I bought the Oct is that I was so excited by the prospect of owning an Intruso module that I might have accidentally added another one to the cart at the same time, and then closed my eyes and kind of walked away. And what did I end up with? I ended up with this, called the crave, which also I haven't plugged in and played with yet. And that looks like that. That is also a thing of beauty. There's something about the front panels, something about that black. I mean, it often looks brown, I think, in videos, but that's kind of a matte black. And it was less, I bought this less because of knowing exactly what it was that it did, and more to do with the fact that I could almost afford it. So I thought, oh look, there's something I could afford, and it looks really nice. Why don't we try that out? So that's kind of what I did. And that, hey, that's going to fit. So why don't I plug this in as well and see if that makes some noise, and then kind of combine the two. That might be fun. So once more into the unknown, as it were. Oh, there's a cable. Gonna need that. All right, so it's got a line on it. It's got a -12 this time. I find that reassuring. But it turns out I was right on the Oct, so that's a good thing. Oh, we have lights. Nice lights. So I think what we'll do is I'll just take that from... Oh, crikey. Do I actually even know what this is supposed to be? I thought I did. Those are inputs, and that's an out over there. Alright, so I'll put an input in there. It's got a 3-channel thing going on. Right, so take that from there. Take this from the output. Put that over there. That is now going back into there. So let's unplug that primary oscillator for the moment. That's not very interesting for you, I appreciate that, because I'm like over here, like doing stuff here that you can't see. Nice. Yeah, that's nice. So that's the oct and the trieg, I don't know, running together. It's kind of a filter. Well, it's more than kind of a filter. It kind of is a filter, I think, at the end of the day. But it's a filter that has 1 volt per octave input, and also to sweep the cutoff, which is rather nice. You've got 3 inputs, so I could route in something else which is doing something, like this fella here. I don't know if it is in tune. Oh! Yeah, nice. So yeah, I feel completely awesome about the fact that I have some Instruo stuff in my rack. I get the feeling that I'm going to have kind of a strange hierarchy going on. On the one side, I'm going to have like the Moog case with the posh modules in, like the Bloom, like the Lifeforms, like the Instruo and the DivKid stuff. And then I'm going to have the Behringer rack that's got all the handmade DIY bits of stuff that I've put together that are perhaps, well, they're no less loved because it's all awesome stuff. It's all awesome modules. But I mean purely that perhaps the less posh stuff, the more rough and ready, the stuff that's a bit grimy and is going to fall apart in a second. And it's the meeting of those two worlds, which I think is going to be very interesting. Hey, DivKid! I was just talking about you. Nothing good, obviously. Good to see you. I'm just trying out your module. That's embarrassing. Is that embarrassing? No, it shouldn't be. It's lovely. It's really nice. And I love the fact you can turn everything up together. That's a really useful device. I have not got the hang of this Lifeforms voltage lab though, not one bit. It's like that's the Lifeforms. Oh no, that's sounding pretty good now. Anyway, blah blah blah. So there we go. So that was those two boxes. They're going to feature in my rack from now on in, and hopefully, as I say, next week or two, I'm going to get everything set up. So I've no longer got bits and pieces knocking around all over the place. I will have an awesome rack of awesome Euro rack that I'll be able to properly put together a string of usefulness, which will be great. So looking forward to that. So we are 2 hours in. I think we've probably gone far enough. I'm just going to have a last check through the comments to see if anyone has any burning questions, burning comments, awesome things to say. We didn't really do much about the whole year thing. We talked about it a little bit. Not a massive amount, but that's just generally how these things go. We just see how it goes and we stumble on in depending on what the heck's happening. So as I have a quick look through, why don't you throw in your picks of the new year? What is it we're looking for in the new year that's going to be interesting and exciting? Yeah, no worries, mate. Yeah, plug-in LEDs. They are useful things. Well, they're initially exciting, and you do play with them a little bit, and then you kind of forget about them. But for troubleshooting, as you say, very, very useful. Very useful. I just can never find a decent place to put it. Let's put it there. Oh, let's see. Perfect. I've now sorted that out. I need a what soundstage module? Yeah, the voltage lab. I seriously have to sit down with it because I'm just still fiddling and I'm not quite being rewarded by the voltage lab because I haven't put in enough effort yet, because I just haven't had the time. As I say, this last month has been crazy busy for me, so I have not had the time to sit down with it, which is terribly, terribly sad. But I do intend to wrestle out of it what on earth it is I'm supposed to be doing. And I will. I definitely will. Okay, mate. Ben, see you in the new year. Happy New Year. See you soon. Thanks for dropping by. That's really appreciated. Peter, thanks. I think. Is that comment directed at me? I have no idea, but thank you anyway. Glad you could stop by. Somebody else ordered the Coma field kit, and I still haven't quite worked out in my head exactly what that would enable you to do. Have I been able to look at the question about whether the Moog 3-tier rack will be able to hold the Neutron Model D and K2? Well, why wouldn't it be able to? I mean, that's just a question of what the HP wide they are. I mean, this is 104 HP wide. Is your Neutron wider than that? I don't believe it is. So it could. Of course it could. No problem with that. Or maybe you're asking a different question that I don't really understand. Anyway. What would be my first device if I was to start now? You know, I think I started really well. I think the first setup I had in my first row were all good choices. I mean, I sunk a lot of time and research into those first choices, and they were good. I mean, you need an oscillator, you need a filter, you need a VCA. Don't really even need an envelope. I mean, I would get the Delta V over the maths any day of the week now, I think. Because the mash just take up so much space for the little it contributes. It contributes some great things, but you can do it with the Delta V, and that's what I really like. Or with the function generator and the life forms that I don't fully understand yet. So, you know, things like that. So an oscillator, a filter, a VCA. The ones I went for were the Make Noise STO. It's really good little oscillator. The filter, I went for the Polivox. I would have gone for the Jove had I known how good it was. That would have been my first filter. I would have had 4 of those, given the chance. And then a quad VCA, because they're always useful. Those are the things to start with. Then you need some kind of sequencer. And then you need some effects. I think that's the route to happiness is to build a simple synth voice with plenty of effects, a bit of reverb, that kind of thing, which you can do on pedals alongside necessarily. But as I say, the first row that I did, if you follow my Molten modular journey, then that's not far off what I would do this time. Something very, very similar. Something very similar, yeah. So yeah, just start with something basic. I mean, mine has ballooned ridiculously. It's just ridiculous. I'm embarrassed by the size of the stuff that I have and the things that I've got knocking around that I'm not even using. It's stupid, and I want to rectify that early in the new year by sorting out a proper case for everything and just get it done. I think that's important, because it does disrespect to these modules that are not being used, and that's just stupid. So yes, need to sort that out. I mean, I'm fortunate in many ways in that people do send me modules, which is awesome, but I do also buy a great deal of this myself. I have no idea how that's happened or how I've been able to afford it, but I'm flipping working hard. It's what it is. I'm working hard. God darn it. And that's what happens, I think. But in order to keep this going, I'm going to have to keep making videos and keep sorting that out. So thank you everyone for joining me this evening. I think we got up to about 140 people at one point, which is really nice. It's lovely to see you all here. If you're new, I hope this was interesting. It's kind of, I mean, we do this once a month. The idea is that I do a monthly news video called the Molten Music Monthly that has all the latest news from the last month's worth of stuff that's happened, and then the idea is that we use that as a starting point to talk about it in a live stream for an hour or two after that. Sometimes that's what happens. Sometimes I just run on and run on and run on and talk about stuff, and sometimes we get engaged in the comments about something and we go off on something else, and sometimes I make some music. That's generally what happens. There's no real plan. We're not here to be down on anybody. I might insult people occasionally, but you know, it's all love. It's all love, peace and happiness in this space. That's what we're all about. So thank you ever so much for coming along. When did I last use my Mother 32? About 9 months ago. It's here. Look, I know where it is. Now you can probably judge by the amount of dust. See this? There you go. I'm just going to clean that off there. So yeah, that's really sad. I am an embarrassment to myself and to the synthesizer community. Now I'm probably gonna sell this fairly soon because it's not doing anything, and that's a shame. And I need as much as I can to focus on the things that are important to me. Otherwise I just end up going around in circles. Endless circles. And I've got soldering to do. I've got projects to make. I've got a couple of Bafako power supplies. So yes, what's coming up next? Well, as I say, I've got some Bafako power supplies. Things here that power your rack, because I've got some more rows I need to power up. So I've got a couple of those to build, which I would do and make a video of. So that's coming along very soon in the new year. I've got that to do. I've got the compass to look at, the Oct, this new crave filter thing that I've just been playing. It's very interesting. It works. It just seems to work differently, and I like things which will work differently, because I have this thing like I've got a whole different sorts of filters. What's the point of having all these different filters? But if they work differently and can do things slightly in a different kind of take, it gives you a whole different creative flavour and another row to go down. And I'm all for more rows to go down. What else do I have coming up? Well, I've got reviews of the Bloom, of the Compass, of the Life Forms, of these two things. I've got an Erica stereo delay that I need to do something on. Lots of stuff in that department. So then I've got the Surface Pro 7, and I've got the Audio PC stuff to finish off. So yeah, lots and lots to come. I've got some Motu audio interfaces I'm looking at. I've also got the April from Arturia to look at, which I think I have to do soon because they want it back. They sent it to me just before Christmas. I've had no time to get it out of the box, and they want it back sort of straight away in the new year. So I'm going to try to throw out a video on that, running on Windows, running 8 channels of stuff through stuff. See, that sounds like a good idea. So lots of stuff to come. Andrew, you're brave building a power supply. Yes, I flippin' am, and I've told people don't do it. Do not do it, but I am. I'm going to give it a go. I mean, these ones are, we're not talking about a big fat power supply. We're talking about the ones that take wall warts, that take laptop power supplies. So I'm not dealing with mains. I'm purely dealing with 12 volts coming in off a laptop power supply. So that I can cope with. I can cope with that. And I also know that they are based on the 4MS ones that I've used a lot, that I've used in this rack. So I'm completely happy with how they work and how they run, and the fact that they'll be really, really good. My man at Bafako says that they're a bit tricky, but he always says that, and I always muddle through. So it must be possible. Must be possible. Yeah, yours are sitting under the desk as well. It's annoying that, isn't it? Because at one point that was a life-changing synthesizer, and then it sits under your desk. Oh, what are we about, eh? What are we about? So yeah, what was I doing? I can't remember. Yeah, Happy New Year, everybody. Cool. Yeah, we'll wind it down. We will wind it down. I think I've got to the bottom of that. Yeah, cool. So, yeah, lots more to come. That's the end of 2019 as we know it. And I'm looking forward to the new year. Yeah, I know. I mean, my plan going forward into the new year is to continue making videos, to continue pushing what it is that I can get out there, doing the content while trying to make a living in other ways at the same time, which is the tricky bit. But it's working at the moment. I mean, the end of this year, I've done more videos than I've ever done before. And I've written more articles than I've ever written before. I like getting three or four articles in Sound on Sound every month at the moment, which is just extraordinary. I feel so fortunate to find myself in this position where I'm working in the industry that's enabling me to fund my obsession with Eurorack and synthesizers, and also enables me to make videos that people seem to like to watch. All of that is brilliant. I can't quite believe where I am at the moment, and that's awesome. I'm also approaching 30,000 subscribers, which is just mind-blowing. It's phenomenal. So I'm just going to keep at it. I'm going to keep at it until enough people tell me to stop. And at the moment there's only a handful of those, so I'm keeping the mob at bay and just going with it in my own blind determination that this is worthwhile. So cool. I will play you out by filling a bit more with the aux and with the filter, and I will see you on the other side of things. Cool.